Welcome to the Bold Analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your support. I have read a very interesting article and taking a commentary from two foreign affairs experts in the light of the latest disappearance and killings of foreigners in our country, and that is by John Gashie and Nafula Kisiangani. They are raising serious diplomatic concerns over the latest cases of human rights violations that pose a risk of portraying our country as a place that is unlivable, and by extension, Nairobi as a place that is unlivable. And in my own perspective, I'm just there's something triggering my thought. We have Kenya has a very good strategy to sell Nairobi City as a one-stop shop or as the best destination for investment, not only in Kenya, East Africa, and even Africa. And Nairobi is a place that I normally say is the headquarter of NGOs that work in this country. Embassies, most embassies, their headquarters are in Nairobi. Most investors, government offices, almost everything is within Nairobi. And guys, there seems to be a well-coordinated approach. And our neighbors or people who are not happy with the country, could it be a possibility that they are spoiling the name of Nairobi? I want to just say something. Kenya is being exposed to some risks. From the disappearance of the two election ICT official experts, Indians, Ole Sureni, to Ugandan General Muhoozi, Nairobi scare. Never mind about, don't fail to mention about the Morocco and Sharawi Steve, and the death of Pakistan journalist still in Nairobi. If you look at, draw some similarity from these three, Muhoozi was saying, I want to attack Nairobi. Of course, it was treated as biggest joke. But you can't not dismiss. He said, how long will it take us, Kenyans? It could take us a few days, even weeks, to attack Nairobi. On that, Nairobi was again in the limelight, negatively. Number two was ICT experts. Even before this election, that were abducted in January. That was Samuel Sereni. It was still Nairobi. Now lately, Pakistan journalists killed. The story is still being narrowed down to Nairobi. I'm making this analysis with a lot of passion and a lot of speaking from a point of concern, because I think there is something that we are not seeing here openly. Is it a possibility that our people that are our enemies are actually unhappy with the kind of posturing and the kind of development within Nairobi? Remember, this is a place that SGR is through here. We have Nairobi Expressway. There are multi-billion investments in this place. And if you talk to foreign investors, they will tell you, not foreign investors, when you talk to people who are in the investment industry, they will tell you that Nairobi is the place. When you want to invest in Kenya, Nairobi is the place. It all starts with Nairobi. But let's take it a bit higher. I am pointing this because the death of the Pakistan journalist Arshad To me, I may not, in my analysis, my position was it's not enough to say Kenyan police. I don't think that's where the story is. The story is that it's in Nairobi. Number two is that there is a thicker hand, a deeper hand that will come into it. And so, if so, then did someone penetrate our security structures? Those are questions we need to ask ourselves. Now, in the light of this, let me explain for you then what Ruto has done with the DCI, why Ruto actually went after the DCI. President Ruto's decision to disband DCI was not only meant to probe the Indians' disappearances. I don't think that was it. But it was a gesture of reforms to instill confidence from investors, foreign investors, that our criminal justice system was no longer going to be used as a tool or as a bridge to hurt foreign forays in our country. And it was advised to take that responsibility. And that is why I can tell you that after making that decision to disband that SSU, he had to go to the campaign trail. He had to go to rallies, spoke about it in Kericho, in Mashujaa Day, that has banned. And he was simply saying, and he was telling the foreigners, by the way, that speech was not only meant for Kenyans. Because the truth of the matter here is, I know Kenyans also, there are many that go through that fate, but you cannot compare that to what foreigners maybe have gone through. So he was speaking to the international community that, look here, I have decided to disband the Special Services Unit under the DCI, and this is my reform agenda, because this was the body that was conducting this. So he was simply trying to answer a question, because there have been that concern. And my good friend Don will tell you, this is the truth. Government cannot employ police somewhere, give them office, lap desktops and guns to kill people. That's unrealistic. Some of these vices on human rights violation are done with illicit characters, illicit elements, dark forces. Not someone who is, okay, maybe I may not go that, but it's a bit impractical. I've tried to look at it in some aspect. It's a bit impractical. So that disbursement was that's disbursement and the media coverage in it and all that. It was very strategic, and it was done by the president, not for the Kenyan citizens, but to instill confidence on the people, on our investors back here in Nairobi. This stories, it has posed a challenge. It has created a challenge, a difference between Kenya and Uganda. Ruto had to fly to Uganda, state visit, of course, there to mend ways. There was also Morocco, and Kenya had to buy Morocco fertilizer from Morocco. We don't know whether at some extent it solved it. Now, there was Pakistan national. The journalists from Pakistan are blaming their government for they have tracked down the journalists back in the country, here in Nairobi. How many other imports do we have of people working here? Foreigners working here? What do you think when they hear those stories? What do you think is their feeling? Those are the big questions. Now, there was India. But they, to say the truth, even the Indian embassy had voiced the issue. They raised the issue on that. Remember Ayadin, the Turkish guy. So what we should actually look, and my intelligence look into this, my intelligence lens in this, is that there is something more than what we are actually consuming and what might be happening. And Ruto must be very wary, because there is a particular sense, dominant narrative, that the Kenya Kwanza government was installed by some powers, by some foreign powers. Are they disruptive? Are they disruptive? Oh, I know I'm asking very deep questions that only a few will understand, but that's it. If they install, are they still becoming disruptive? Are there powers that want to derail William Ruto's international agenda and to limit him? Because these things are not very healthy for our country. And that is why the foreign affairs experts were actually warning that William Ruto must be very meticulous and must be very careful when handling some of these issues, because there is more than what catches the eye. These things pose our risk. And let me tell you, our greatest export is tourism. And the tourism is what brings us foreign currencies here. It's what brings us the dollars here. And this helped us stabilize our shilling vis-a-vis the dollar, even despite of the other market forces that affect the same. And we normally survive because we have a lot of income from the tourism. Last year, I think last financial year, I think there was a report that was saying we collected, is it 2.2 trillion? So we are short of the target by around 1 trillion, because our budget was in the tune of 3 trillion. Now, do your research. Can you find out of the 2.2, what is the percentage from tourism? You realize it's a very big player. It's a big player. The hotels here really making money. The game parks, the reserves, the beaches, and all that. There is a lot that we import. So, when these things happen, even our tourism is getting hurt. And that informs why maybe Parliament might have reconsidered the decision of picking Malonza to the position Cabinet CS in terms of tourism. I think Ruto is reviewing. The truth is, Ruto might have been doing some review. Everything happens by design. It's not just like people. No, everything is normally designed. So Ruto might have had a second thought on that. This will exactly, when these things happen, it portrays this country as ungovernable, as a country that does not have that security. Now, let me bring something to your attention. The driver of the Pakistan journalist, who is also allegedly his brother, said and I think it was in the publications, that they told the police that they were developers. And at the end of the day, still the journalist was killed. Now, when someone is reading these stories from outside, what does it show? Does it show that developers are safe or they're not? And what I'm simply saying is this, that investors might, people want to invest in different sectors. There is the affordable housing. Success of affordable housing needs two strategies. One, PPP, public-private partnership, and it also needs foreign investment. For me, it's more easier that way to achieve it, especially if you want an impact, if you want to impact many people. So these people might fear investing here, even in Nairobi, because of these things. This should worry many people. Development partners and NGOs, especially the ones that are working within these places, might have difficulties in resource mobilization, especially high-level resource mobilization sessions, because of these diplomatic steps. Oh, we cannot give money to the country. I am so passionate about this because I worked at UN Habitat, and by then I remember, yes, we had a few of our donors here and there, and one of the departments that was very active, where hapo hakunanga mchezo, ni resource mobilization. You will never mind you will not, I will not be shocked to hear maybe they were supposed to receive money from a donor who is from country X, but they cannot donate that money to. There are many people that are supporting other things. When I support Children's Home Pale, a project, Nalipa fees. Some of these things will actually also affect the humanitarian aid in the donor world. And does it worry the president that locally we seem to be exposed? And we have many enemies. You have many enemies. We seem to be exposed. And how did foreigners penetrate our security dragnets? I don't believe the Pakistan guy was killed by the Kenyan police out of their own volition. If it was so, or whether it was mistaken identity, there is more into that story. And because of what that other narrative that has been said, that of course he was at loggerheads with the mother government. Then if they committed that, then how did they make their way to Kenya? So it's something that is very critical. These disappearances and killings could have been part of, in whether intentionally or by coincidence, are really denting our image and even image of the president. What William Ruto and many people would also ask is this: if we have a dalliance with the international community and the foreign powers, why aren't they helping us protect our place? The image of Nairobi is getting soiled. That's my bold. Let's meet in the next. Asanteni sana.